Joe Gorga, a father of three, is being criticized by fans of Real Housewives of New Jersey, who are calling him a boy and ordering him to look in the mirror. Nevertheless, what happened that led to this name-calling, and does it have any basis in reality? Continue reading to learn more about the reasons for the statements that were made to Joe. RHONJ viewers are shown crying over Joe Gorga after he is told to look in the mirror. It is difficult to predict how fans will react to Joe Gorga, since they either adore his ridiculous antics or they are sick of him. On the other hand, the house husband of the Real Housewives of New Jersey has a strong connection with the majority of the other spouses and partners. Nothing more than drinking, playing games, and making the most of the time they have together is what they enjoy doing. Joe has another side that is very family-oriented and cares about his wife, Melissa Gorga, as well as his 3 children. This side of Joe is very different from the other side. Additionally, he does feel a profound passion for his sister, Teresa Giudice. They are quite close. Their love has, however, been fraught with many highs and lows, and it has ultimately come to a complete and utter end. A short while ago, Teresa made some nasty remarks about their deceased parents, which caused Joe to become agitated. Both Joe and Melissa have maintained their distance from one another on the show, particularly when it comes to the Limoncello housewarming party that Joe and Melissa hosted. In addition to sending a card, Teresa and her husband, Louis Rulis, also sent a housewarming gift. The gift was accepted by Melissa, and Joe burned the card in front of a large number of visitors in front of a fire pit. According to Monsters and Critics, his followers did not take well to his activities, and they expressed their disapproval of them in a recent post that he made on Instagram. The people that followed Joe Gorga were not particularly pleased with him and the way that he depicted himself, not only on the broadcast, but also in his post, where he emphasized the need of maintaining a humble tone. So what opinions did his followers have about him? I beg you, boy, please. Please do not give this advice because you are not in a position to do so. Take a look at yourself in the mirror and say that to yourself several times. Despite the fact that you always believe you are superior to everyone else around you, you are not. For many people, the fact that he threw the card into the flames demonstrated that he had not matured. Others, on the other hand, were completely on Joe's side. Everyone who is a fan, in spite of the doubters, there are a lot of individuals who watched Real Housewives of New Jersey and think that what Joe Gorga did was perfectly acceptable. In addition to this, they do not have any feelings for Teresa Giudice and believe that he was in the right this time around. It has always been the case that fans have been split between Teresa and the Gorgas. It would appear that there will always be teams on both sides, but the current season is a complete and utter disaster. They have no desire to interact with one another in any manner, shape, or form, and as a result, it appears that there is minimal possibility of healing apart from sideways strikes. Is it your opinion that Joe should cease behaving like a child, or do you believe that he is making an effort to improve his behavior? Watch The Real Housewives of New York City on Sundays on Bravo. Few names on The Real Housewives of New Jersey stir up as much divided opinion as Joe Gorga. The brother of Teresa Giudice and husband of Melissa Gorga has long been at the center of fiery confrontations, loyalty tests, and family breakdowns that have shaped the show's most unforgettable seasons. But this time, it wasn't a feud with his sister or a Bravo co-star that set fans ablaze. It was Joe's own behavior and social media choices that left him ripped to shreds, with viewers calling him out as a boy who needs to look in the mirror. The post that sparked the backlash. According to those who caught the drama unfold on Instagram, Joe Gorga recently shared a post that many fans found hypocritical. It was a slick, motivational-style video of Joe talking about being a real man and leading by example. He preached about loyalty, family values, and treating people with respect. On paper, it sounded like an inspirational message. But to viewers who have watched Joe's on-screen actions over the years, his volatile fights with Teresa, his dramatic reunion walk-offs, and his public put-downs of cast members, the post struck as ironic. Joe Gorga talking about respect is wild, one fan commented. This boy needs to look in the mirror before trying to lecture anyone else. Another chimed in with harsher words. He's always trying to act like the victim, but has no problem tearing down his own sister and throwing tantrums. Enough. Fans say Joe can't have it both ways. The criticism wasn't just about this single video. For longtime RHONJ followers, Joe's reputation as someone who often takes shots at others, especially his sister Teresa, has eroded the credibility of his motivational brand. Joe is trying to sell himself as this hardworking, family man motivational speaker, but his track record on the show is being the first to yell, fight, or storm off. The contradiction is too much, one Bravo fan account noted. And it's true. Joe has attempted to build a side career out of motivational speaking and comedy tours, often sharing posts about perseverance and resilience. But Bravo watchers weren't buying it. As one particularly biting tweet put it, Joe Gorga is the last person I take life advice from. A grown man who calls his sister garbage and humiliates his wife on TV. Please, sit down. Teresa's shadow still looms large. Much of the fan frustration with Joe comes down to his fractured relationship with Teresa Giudice. Over the years, Joe has accused his sister of not supporting his marriage, while Teresa has accused him of disrespecting her now-husband Luis Rulas. Their feuds have played out during reunions, cast trips, and most notably, at Teresa's wedding, where Joe and Melissa were absent. For some fans, Joe's willingness to publicly air out dirty laundry about his family disqualifies him from claiming the moral high ground. If he really cared about family, he wouldn't have skipped his sister's wedding. He wouldn't constantly talk down about Luis. He wouldn't make everything about him, one fan said bluntly. Others pointed out that Joe's constant need to insert himself into Teresa's storyline only makes matters worse. RHONJ would be so different if Joe Gorga didn't make every issue about his sister. He's still obsessed with controlling her life. That's not being a man, that's being a boy. Melissa's role in the firestorm. Of course, Melissa Gorga hasn't been left out of the drama. As Joe's wife, she often gets caught in the crossfire, both defending him and sparring with Teresa. Some fans feel Melissa enables Joe's behavior by co-signing his arguments, while others believe she's unfairly dragged into his battles. Either way, the couple's joint image as the reasonable ones of RHONJ has taken a hit. In fact, Melissa herself faced fan backlash earlier this year for comments about Teresa's daughters, another sore spot in the family feud. As one commenter summed it up, Joe and Melissa always want to look like the heroes, but it's always at someone else's expense. It's exhausting. Maybe it's time for them to stop pointing fingers and start owning up. The boy comment that stuck among the pile-on of criticism. One phrase in particular became a rallying cry, Joe being called a boy. Fans used it repeatedly to highlight what they saw as childish, performative behavior. Joe Gorga is a boy in a man's body. The constant yelling, the storming off, the playing victim, it's middle school level, one viral comment read. Others echoed the same sentiment. You want to be seen as a man. Start by respecting your family and stop embarrassing yourself on national TV. The look in the mirror sentiment became just as popular, with fans urging Joe to self-reflect before posting any more inspirational content. While Bravo hasn't hinted at cutting ties with Joe or Melissa, there's no denying that the fan backlash could impact how they're portrayed in future seasons. With ratings often fueled by audience loyalty or disdain, producers may lean into the criticism, framing Joe's attempts at positivity as ironic in contrast with his on-screen fights. Some fans even suggested that the Gorgas may have overstayed their welcome, It's time for a RHONJ reboot without the Gorgas, one viewer wrote. Let Joe keep posting his fake motivational videos, but we don't need it on Bravo anymore. So far, Joe has not directly addressed the criticism. He continues to post upbeat messages and workout videos, ignoring the negativity swirling in his comments. For some, his silence is strategic. Why feed the trolls? But for others, it's just more proof that he's unwilling to confront uncomfortable truths about himself. Still, it wouldn't be the first time Joe has brushed off fan outrage. Over the years, he's faced accusations of being controlling, hypocritical, and overly aggressive. Yet he's remained a staple of the franchise. At the end of the day, Joe Gorga is in a tricky spot. On one hand, he wants to reinvent himself as a motivational figure who stands for strength, loyalty, and perseverance. On the other, he's still tied to a Bravo edit that highlights his temper, feuds, and questionable choices. For fans, the disconnect is too glaring to ignore. They're not just pushing back on a single post. They're calling out years of contradictions, asking Joe to finally practice what he preaches.